Beautiful warm welcome to everybody, and my name is Moritz Schild. I'm one of the founding members and board members of Hanseatic Blockchain Institute, and this is an association founded here in Hamburg more than 2 years ago, with essentially two things as targets. So first of all, we wanted to help the Hamburg-based crowd, which is interested in blockchain, to get a better understanding and to get some place for networking. And then secondly, we intend to help blockchain technology to become better known to people that haven't heard about it, and to spread the word. And in order to do that, we founded what we have today, which is Blockchain Monday. And essentially, since we were founded, we have every Monday initially a physical event, and now since COVID for more than a year, definitely, we moved to this virtual format. And the advantage is that we have been able to have guests from different part of the world, and we had someone from Israel, we had someone from Moscow, we had from London, we had from Paris, and even from Asia. And now, Gökçe, I'm very happy to welcome you from Turkey. What we want to talk about today is the theme of where do we get proper information about the crypto markets. And I think that's something everybody is aware, even though the technology is will be revolutionizing the financial markets. That's what most people that usually attend our events are fully aware of. And secondly, the potential and the volatility is extraordinary. And the third part, which we usually would ask for if we want to invest into a market that's all new and that's has such a high volatility, is to get good data and to have a solid base for decision makings. And I think that's something where this market still is miles behind what we see in the traditional markets. And that's the topic you have been actively looking into. And maybe before we start, Gökçe, you can give us a short intro to what's your background and what was your first encounter with crypto, and what's the reason for you to still look into that space.
Sure. Well, Moritz, thank you very much for the invite again, and Jan as well for the coordination. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the talk. This is Gökçe Phillips. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CryptoIndexSeries. First encounter was back in 2017 when one of our very close relatives sold his apartment and put all the money into crypto markets. So that was quite a bold move on his part, and we curiously watched, at the time, us not knowing much about crypto markets. So we, that kind of created a good level of curiosity. And then we also wanted to invest personally. At the time it was more of a hobby, well, I have a PhD in computer science, and I would consider myself as a good researcher. So when I sort of decide to show interest on something, that also comes with some research. I sat down and read about 130 white papers at the time. And that actually gives a good level of understanding as to what kind of different crypto assets there are. I even had my little Excel sheet back then showing me, which sector this crypto asset belongs to, what are the differentiators, what are the technical characteristics of this crypto asset, etc. And I really wanted to find a platform actually to make it easy for me, because it's quite a research. Not everyone would have the time to read these 120, 80 pages long white papers. So that's how it all started. My obviously, I should admit, both myself and my partner, we worked in Thomson Reuters in Geneva, London, Dubai offices. So we have a fintech background, which gives a good understanding to crypto markets as well. That's that's how we started, and the business idea came from. Initially, we were just going to create some crypto indices, but as I'm going to explain you further, the idea grew much bigger than that.
I think indeed. However, for the time being, I mean, there are so many sources. However, it's quite difficult to distinguish between the ones that are credible. And I mean, there are lots of people just talking bullshit about crypto. What was your experience before you started developing something that's hopefully better than what you see out there?
So first of all, obviously, white papers are the trustable source in terms of what kind of project it's going to be, because those are the people who are promising to build something, to produce something for the world. So that should kind of be the starting point for everyone. Also to classify the crypto assets. So we should not be, for instance, comparing Ethereum to Bitcoin, because their promises are completely different. So I think first we also need to understand that when we are investing in one of the crypto assets, it's not that we're investing an investment vehicle. We are actually investing almost like an angel investor to a startup which has given promises to produce something in the world, to either in a platform, perhaps it's a utility token which is going to be operating in a platform, or a payment token, or a security token. So we really need to understand, first of all, what the promise is, and then whether that promise actually makes sense for us. And then you can start, collecting data, financial data, to do some technical analysis if you wanted. Obviously, news and social media are important, because it's a market where speculation is really affecting the pricing, as in any financial market, I must say. Even the traditional financial markets are affected by the news. So we should not take one place as the whole source of data. We should also do our own research, perhaps, and analytics to back up our understanding and the decision-making process.
I think the structure is entirely different from what we see in the traditional markets, because in the blockchain crypto invest area, there's so many people that are actively talking about what they do and what they don't do, and everybody is publishing something, insights, and you see lots of rumors and so on. However, there are very, very few kind of old established research providers that would be accepted as credible source. Or is it changing? And I mean, at what point in time? I mean, we have seen all these studies from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs on Bitcoin and crypto market. However, from my point of view, none of them has ever published something specifically about Solana or something like that. So who will be the ones to really create content, or is it you to create the research content that's relevant for investors?
I mean, going back to my point about these being actual projects. So Solana is, to continue that example, is a project that's still ongoing. So it's a software project that hasn't completed, that hasn't produced the final outcome. But once it does, and then once we see its commercialization and scale up, and see how it does actually keep its promise as a smart contract platform, then we will be able to see those kind of reports where, okay, Solana's performance compared to Ethereum's performance then we'll be able to see, for example, reports around, oh, transaction per second is this much in here and that much in there, or smart contract, for instance, smart, whether there will be any faults or fault tolerance in any of these platforms. So then we will be able to see more apple-to-apple comparison. However, at the moment, most of the crypto assets haven't actually produced the end results. Well, some did, like basic attention token, for example, which one of the projects I like, not in terms of investment. Again, this is not an investment advice, but in terms of the finished, or let's say mostly one of the projects that have already produced an outcome is Brave browser, which is using a basic attention token to reward the users. So there are those platforms where we can see some end results. For those, we will be able to talk about, performance, expected performance, or whether there have been any errors, whether there are users, and whether those users are actually investing in that particular platform. So only then the markets will be more mature, I guess.
From your point of view, I would be curious to see in a bit more detail what you have developed so far with your company. Sure. However, there's so many kind of initial questions one would have. If I understand correctly, you definitely look at the market as something that can be categorized, and that we need to as we have in the traditional market, we have equity and fixed income and alternative and so on. And I remember very well when I was invited to a conference in Vienna where we were very early talking about institutional investors looking at crypto. And I was making the point to say, currently, most people tend to say crypto is just a subcategory of alternative, because that's something nobody is able to put in any other of these categories. And I was trying to make the argument to say, no, let's really look at the traditional instruments on the one hand side and look at the digital instrument on the other hand side. And we will have kind of money market token, and we will have equity token, we will have venture capital, and these are not the terms we are going to have. We will have entirely different, and this has started. So some people are talking about utility token, and I think from my point of view, every jurisdiction has a different approach, because some say certain tokens are financial instruments and they need to be treated like securities, and others have just the quality of a voucher. And from my understanding, and the German regulator BaFin started even to talk about a WPA, so A with two dots on it, a Wertpapier-ähnlicher token. So that was the approach to put a stamp on that. However, in this world, there's not yet a kind of a global standard of different token categorization, or do you have it, or do you think you're going to develop it, or where do we stand?
Sure. That was also one of the initial points, in that we've noticed that each crypto asset actually in that white paper categorizes itself. So, they say, okay, I'll be operating in entertainment sector, or I'll be operating in online gaming, or I'll be operating in, let's say, finance sector as a payment service or whatever. So you can definitely categorize the crypto assets into their sectors. In fact, after so much research, we've noticed that we can categorize it from 4 perspectives. One being business perspective, the second being regulatory perspective, what we call token economy perspective, and the financial perspective. I'll be actually going into these details in my presentation as well. So I don't know how much I should spoil here, but
please
definitely there is that
Sorry
categorization.
for trying to get so much information. Please feel free to enter into your presentation, and to the audience, please, everybody, use the Q&A, use the chat function to let us know what you think, and if you have any questions, so we can do it as interactive as possible. I think you should be able to share your screen if you want to.
Yeah, I'm able to. Here we go. Right. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, perfect.
So the question I'll be looking at today with you is really data trading and portfolio analytics processes for crypto markets. Is there really a challenge here? And if so, what's the challenge and where how we can solve it? And again, I always want to put this disclaimer just in case, we mentioned these crypto asset names. So none of the crypto asset names are there for investment advice. They're only for example purposes to explain on the subject matter. A little bit about myself. So I've got a PhD in software engineering from University of York, worked in different companies in different continents, more than 15 years. And then I founded Progesium as a consultancy firm, and CryptoIndexSeries as the product suite, which I'm going to go into detail today. And CryptoIndexSeries is part of Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator, as well as Swiss F10 FinTech Accelerator. We've also become crypto data contributor for Refinitiv. The technical integration is ongoing. Hopefully you'll see our data in Refinitiv products soon. Right, so a very quick agenda. We'll look at crypto assets, crypto markets, a very quick look at, again, the ecosystem, what kind of challenges there are we see, what are the crypto data sets, what are the challenges around trading and monitoring, and finally, how we approach all these problems. In fact, during the presentation, we will actually be seeing some of the solutions from our products. So this was based on the German AML D5 definition of crypto assets. So there it says digital representation of value, not issued or guaranteed by a central bank or public authority, do not possess the legal status of currency or money. However, then the German authorities changed this March the 3rd, 2020. And as you mentioned, Moritz, so BaFin announced that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are now officially classified as legal financial instruments in Germany. So in fact, Germany is really one of the forward-thinking jurisdictions in Europe and in the world when it comes to crypto assets. And as you know, they can be transferred, stored, and traded electronically. And in terms of crypto assets, I need to change the slide each time I do a presentation. Usually I try to use a little bit of market slide in most of my presentations, and really changes so much. So there are, almost 1,200 crypto assets, of which, let's say 2,300 plus are trading. And again, this blockchain wallet user number is increasing around about 5-6 million every quarter, even more lately. There are more than 407 crypto exchanges. The total market cap, interestingly, is 2.13. And would you believe that in April, when Bitcoin hit 65,000, the total market cap was actually slightly less than that. So although Bitcoin is much lower, the market cap seems to be actually still stable, so which is a good indicator.
That's due to new incoming altcoins, or is it just because so many other altcoins have appreciated in value significantly and have outweighed?
Certainly, there is more institutional investment coming into the crypto markets, because the Bitcoin dominance is still around about 40.8%. So it's still quite a large dominance. But at some point, this dropped down to 1.6 when the Bitcoin dropped. But now, really, it's even more than when Bitcoin was 65,000. So certainly, there's more fresh money coming into the market.
And obviously, this fresh money is not only coming to Bitcoin, but quite
exactly altcoins as well.
Widespread to other coins. Okay, that's
absolutely, absolutely.
It's funny that you are using Statista.com as a source of for the number of wallets. That's amazing. Statista was founded by a friend of mine.
Really? Yeah.
Amazing that they managed to get a worldwide acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of how we see potential crypto market growth, this is just an indicator. So these are kind of 8 traditional exchanges, and the market cap for these traditional exchanges is about 70 trillion. And the market cap for crypto markets is looking at 1.2 trillion right now. Clearly, there is just so much room to, for crypto markets to grow. Obviously, not all the traditional markets is going to convert completely to crypto. We can't make that assumption. At the same time, though, most of these exchanges you see in here have actually carried out or implemented some sort of solution to start integrating crypto-related services into their exchanges. So we can say that there is room for crypto market growth. And in fact, here are some of the proof of exchanges who've made steps forward adopting cryptocurrency related services. For instance, Intercontinental Stock Exchange launched cryptocurrency marketplace. Nasdaq is working with 5 major crypto exchanges. Börse Stuttgart Group launched a crypto trading app. In fact, I should also say, recently Deutsche Börse bought Crypto Finance AG from Switzerland. So that's, again, another move from a traditional exchange, we would say. And SIX Swiss, obviously, they have even launched SIX Digital Exchange. London Stock Exchange acquired a company around denominated bonds. New York Stock Exchange announced the listing of BUCT and so on. So there's certainly interest from traditional exchanges to move towards, or at least to adopt crypto.
When did this CFTC announce that they opened their market for Bitcoin futures?
Sorry, I missed the question, I think.
I think in 2020, CFTC announced the opening of Bitcoin futures trading. Mm-hmm. You might add that to your slide.
Yeah, absolutely. I might add that. Yes, I'll have my notes. I mean, this is certainly not a complete list, by the way. Yeah. This is just to show some examples. There's certainly need. In fact, we are also in contact with 2 traditional exchanges around, crypto data contribution.
Yeah. So. Good.
Now, just to also understand what kind of players are there in the crypto fintech ecosystem, and we don't call it blockchain, but really crypto fintech. So on the buy-sell side, we've got institutions, family offices, also high net worth individuals here, assets, wealth, fund management firms, accredited investors, and on the sell side, we've got brokerage firms. So this is really who is in. Basically, the let's say the parties who are interested in crypto fintech services and products. And then you also see custodians to store your digital assets, data providers, trading agents. Again, trading agents started looking very similar to traditional markets, such as OTC trading, prime brokerage, market makers. So crypto exchanges are, the basics of the market, but crypto exchanges also recently started opening OTC launch pads, and the service providers who would like to add value on top of trading data or normal data from data providers. So these can be index fund providers, market intel companies, auto trading, algo trading, index agents, and so on. So sort of these are the ecosystem players in the market, and clearly it's possible to increase the service providers. There's many more here. I just tried to cover some. Yeah, the reason I put it there is so that it becomes clear who is trying to, who is serving who in the market, if that makes sense. Right, so when it comes to challenges, first of all, one of the biggest challenges is there's just too much data to collect. We're talking about order data, trade data from exchanges, news data from news sources, social media data from different social media channels, and white papers. And data collection is quite a process, because we're talking about big data here, that data that can slip, data that can be lost, because it's coming too fast and too big. So data collection and data storage are certainly, not easy tasks to do, let's say. And then you can't just keep raw data, you need to normalize it. Because let's say when you call BTC USDT in one exchange, and believe me when I say there's an exchange which says XBTC to Bitcoin. So there's a lot of normalization that needs to be done. When you collect data, you can't just serve it. And you do a lot of data aggregation and indexing. And then, of course, you can create benchmarks like indices or new type of analytics to give more information about the current situation in the market.
You might come to it, but do you use on-chain data as well?
At the moment, we don't have on-chain data set, but it's yet another data set that we're looking into, let's say, adding. And then, once you have the capability, once you have the right data infrastructure to collect and store, a new data set isn't then a challenge, but it's really to actually set up that that data infrastructure is quite a challenge. Also, I should admit here, for data collection from exchanges, you can't just say, oh, I'll be sitting in Turkey and collect data that's coming from Tokyo and New York, because then you're looking into a lot of delays. So you need to potentially dedicate servers that's going to sit in Tokyo, maybe another server for Coinbase, in another continent, and maybe we want one in the States for exchanges from the States. So data collection is almost like an art, really, to make sure that it's an institutional grade data that you're collecting and not something that's delayed for several seconds.
I mean, if you want to provide relevant data for someone who's professionally trading in the crypto markets, I think it's a huge effort to provide all the data that's required for someone who is doing value investing and who is doing research on each and every coin on the one hand side, and someone else who's just interested in arbitrage, and someone else who is doing a high frequency trading algo-based thing. So your solutions, whom are you initially trying to serve as a client?
So our clients are actually the technology providers. So if I go back one slide, these people would be my initial target clients, who are looking at institutional grade data, who need who need the data to be on time, because their let's say algorithm is dependent on the correctness of my data, or asset managers that are already converted. So I would call crypto asset managers or crypto wealth managers are also my target audience, because again, they're interested in the data, the API, so that they can take my data, whichever data they want. They can, because it's searchable index data, they can take whatever they want and shape it as they wish, and then either trade on it or or wait for the right moment to trade, or they can do portfolio analytics. So our customers are mainly, I would say, B2B customers, crypto wealth managers, or these service providers who are building their services on top of our API service. So in fact, going back here, even after collection of data, the challenge doesn't end. The challenge for anyone in the crypto ecosystem is also the trading, because you can't say, as an asset manager, you can't say, oh, I'm only going to be trading on Binance. Because then you're missing perhaps arbitrage opportunities, you're missing some of the crypto assets that are not listed on Binance. So surely you need to have multiple venues to trade. And sometimes you also look at liquidity providers, because if you have customers who'd like to exchange or you'd like to buy 1,000 Bitcoin, and if you'd like to buy it on one exchange, then the price of Bitcoin is surely going to increase as you buy, and the average price is not going to be liked very much. In that sense, you also need these liquidity providers in the market to serve you. So again, going back to our buy and sell actors here, these actors are also optimizing when they choose the right trading venue. And as I said, it doesn't have to be one, it can be many. Just to give give a little bit of explanation around this. So prime brokers, what they would do is you would open one account with them, and then you'd say, well, I'd like to trade 1,000 Bitcoin at 45,000, and then they have connections to so many exchanges, so they try to make sure that on average that's the case. For OTC trading, you're looking at another party to do that for you. But to make it short, so this is yet another challenge which I'll be discussing in a minute, how we aim to solve, and sort of how we found a way around for our customers. And finally, so great, you've got the data, you did your data analysis, and then you found your venues to trade. Wonderful, you traded and you bought and sold some crypto assets. Okay, now you have so many places that you distributed your assets, and how are you going to monitor the performance of your portfolio? So somebody needs to collect the deposits and withdrawals you made per venue. And again, somebody needs to collect the trades per venue for you, so that you can have an idea how much you bought, how much you sold, and whether that's that decision was a good one, and so on. So it's almost like showing an index of your belongings, let's say. And yes, this is another challenge we've observed in the market. So these are the kind of 3 challenges I'll be going through in the rest of the presentation. Any questions so far are most welcome. I'm not really checking my chat screen, but please go ahead if there's any questions from the participants. Right, so we'll be looking at crypto data sets, what kind of crypto data sets there are out there. And then again, we'll look at trading and monitoring solutions, and finally our solution. These are some of the data sets we've included in our solutions or we've observed in the market, as I said, except the on-chain data analysis. So financial data and analysis, here you're looking at real-time data, historical data, and searchable content, because you'd like the content to be searchable. Imagine you want to be able to say, well, I'd like crypto assets whose market cap is above $10 million, you need to be able to make it searchable to the audience in order to be able to answer such questions. Again, social media data, news data, drive data, which we'll be looking at in a minute, crypto asset taxonomic data. So as how we discussed more earlier as to how we classified the crypto data universe, and transactional data and analysis around volumes, for instance.
Let's briefly go to the pricing data, because I mean, volatility is extremely high in the crypto markets, and you
Sure.
see extreme developments sometimes. Do you intend to provide your clients with a normalized, a standardized, a kind of pricing source, which I mean, there are many players around that provide you the average of something, or that have certain algorithms? Are you providing one single price, or are you just providing a list of pricing information?
Yes, we definitely provide what we call aggregated pair price and calculated price data. So in fact, this was exactly to explain what you just said. You know, in different exchanges, you've got a lot of different pricing coming through for even the same asset. Yeah. So to tackle that, what we did is, first of all, for real-time analytics, real-time data. So we're calculating in real time on really millions of data points. We have this aggregation by pair and aggregation by coin. So let's say for BTC, we're looking at all the potential pairs out there that are that BTC is either code currency or base currency. So for example, you know, it can be BTC Ethereum, or it can be XRP BTC, and so on. So we aggregate them all and look at the volumes and you know, calculate the price accordingly for the coin. And then for the pair, again, this time what we do is, for let's say the same example, BTC USDT is the pair. We take the price from different exchanges and we do a volume weighted average, and you know, we publish our price as the aggregate price. This is, in fact, honestly, these two are the two data sets that are most valued by the institutional players that we're speaking to right now. Because it's almost calculating an index. In fact, some even call it digital asset index for this aggregation, and then digital pair index for the other, for the pair aggregation.
Okay. Are you aware of this paper from the German Finanzministerium outlining taxation issues for crypto traders? And I think there is a paragraph on pricing sources that should be used in order to determine profits and losses and tax. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, I'm afraid, but I'd be very interested to know more.
I can send you a copy of that, because I mean, that's always an issue for even monitoring your own, but particularly for reporting the development of assets to investors, for example. Where do you get the price from, and then of course on what do you have to pay taxes? Yeah,
absolutely. Did they specify a certain company name in that report, or did they already choose these are the you know, data sets that we would accept as the source?
I need to look at it, and I'll let you know. I'm not entirely sure, but at least they look into the issue of what is the right pricing source, because traditionally people would say we use the Xetra Schlusskurs of the particular day or something like that. So that's interesting. Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's of course, at some point in time, everybody needs a kind of credible pricing source, and ideally it will be you, or you will be listed as a pricing source that can be used for this official reporting issues.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason we have actually contacted our ex-colleagues in Refinitiv, and back then they were called Thomson Reuters, is actually to do that, because obviously Refinitiv or Thomson Reuters has that reputation of trust, and so being one of the crypto data providers for them, we hope certainly to bring that kind of trust and hopefully the regulatory insights in the future as well. Right, so in terms of real time, that's what we cover. And there's also the historical data we cover in our time series storage. I don't want to get into too many details, but also the searchable content, so that whatever information is there is easily fetchable in the database. And this is really not an easy infrastructure to build, and most of the service providers we discussed wouldn't like to start this from scratch, because otherwise they may not even get to build their own algorithm. So they would like this to be ready so that they can do their magic on top of this layer. Right, and the next data set is about crypto asset taxonomy. And a little bit of quick background here. So usually the crypto assets would be on one of these three layers. The blockchain technology layer, this is actually not where the crypto assets would be. This is really more where the blockchain of that crypto asset sits. And on top of this, there's the protocol layer where you'd see coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, where they have their own blockchains. And potentially they'd like to do something magical on their own blockchain. And they also want their blockchain to do more transactions per second and so on. So they also want to be differentiated by the certain decisions they have taken. And the application layer is usually also called tokens. These crypto assets are usually built on top of other existing crypto assets, and mostly I'm sure you heard ERC20 tokens, so those that are built on Ethereum, for instance. So, but nonetheless, each of these crypto assets, whatever layer they are, they have different types of characteristics, and I think it's important to recognize that when investing to any crypto asset. This is from our platform. In our platform, we've inspired by traditional markets and divided the crypto asset space into 17 sectors. These are the sectors that are very similar to S&P 500 sectors: finance, technology, entertainment, content and advertisements, and so on. And these are the number of coins that we've classified in these sectors. So as you see, even in cannabis sector, there are crypto assets. Usually they are focusing on the supply chain characteristics of let's say cannabis sector, but definitely you can't sort of look at a coin and not know anything about the sector is going to be operating and invest really, that there is more to it.
So Bitcoin would be finance, or Bitcoin is not categorized in this
we put Bitcoin as finance because it's a payment device in the end, so that's how it's categorized. And clearly, I should also mention we haven't done this manually. What's happened is in the beginning, when I read those 130 white papers for my own curiosity, I had an Excel sheet that's used as in the supervised mining algorithms. And now our AI is able to find the sector by looking at the white paper of any crypto asset. So when a new crypto asset comes into the market, in the background, the AI algorithm is choosing basically one of these sectors by reading the white paper. So there's no manual work here.
So how do you pick the tokens or the coins you're entering into the database? Are you just hand picking them when they are listed on on an exchange, or would you just have each and every ICO, even though they're not yet listed, to become part of your database, or is there some kind of quality control?
So in fact, the system now picks automatically any crypto asset that's listed on any market. So for us, really, exchange listing is the due diligence that we do. If it's listed on any exchange, that's good enough. On any exchange that we cover, let's say, and we only cover reputable exchanges at the moment, so we don't have sort of smallish exchanges.
So how many exchanges are reputable from your point of view?
It's going to grow, but at the moment we cover 12 exchanges. We cover 12 exchanges at the moment.
12, all right.
But clearly it's going to grow. It's a constantly developing product, so we can't. But then again, to be honest, the data providers we've spoken to don't actually cover many more. But anyway. Right, so going back to our crypto asset taxonomy, this is how we classify any crypto assets. This is almost like an ID of crypto assets. So we look at from regulatory perspective, business, technical, and token economy perspective. And we say, if an asset is a payment token, utility token, a security token, is it a stable coin? Is it backed by, let's say if it's euro, is it backed by euro or dollar or whatever? What are the technical perspectives? If it has a blockchain, that is, which sector is going to be operating? Is it a DeFi coin? And then what are the token economy characteristics we see? For example, is it a limited supply or a limitless supply asset? Is it a mineable asset? Is it a fungible? Obviously, in our platform, we only have fungible assets, no fungible. We don't list NFTs here.
And all this information is retrieved via AI reading the white paper?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Because in the white papers, this information is there. It's just within the lines. Right. And yeah, this is one paper that was published, and this was one of the early work. So you're not going to find all the elements of the taxonomy here, but certainly sector is there, technical perspective is there. If you're curious. And yeah, these are some of the snapshots from our platform, but again, the data is available, but we also publish it in our platform clearly. So for example, this is one of the taxonomy for an asset in which we're saying it's in technology sector, consensus algorithm is proof of stake, it's not a stable coin, it's mineable, and so on. This is probably ADA. We also make this searchable. So if you want to search on a specific sector, asset type, market cap category, asset property such as a DeFi or stable coin, or based on some consensus algorithm, you're also able to search based on those features. In addition to that, we also talked about news data sets. Very quickly, we collect news articles from very many news sources, and we tag each article. For example, this article is tagged by BTC and XRP coins. It's tagged as 2 countries are mentioned in the article. Again, it's tagged as 2 types of asset types have been discussed. We also categorized it as being about these categories, and the sectors, relevant sectors, have been found as technology and finance. Based on this information, actually, we also create new sentiment analysis per crypto asset. So, for example, for XRP, this is the green lines are showing the number of positive news, and the red lines are showing number of negative news. So you can also view certain news sentiment analytics in the platform, and the data is also there. So if you wanted to do further, academic research, which we'd like to do when we grow a little bit more, the data is certainly in the API. And there are other types of derived data. So, as we're collecting a lot of raw data, and on top of that raw data, we also want to add value before we deliver it to customers or to our users. The two we have already discussed, so digital asset pair aggregates and the digital asset index, we've already discussed these. We've also created sector indices, for example, top 50 entertainment index, top 50 finance index, and so on. And we've also created market indices, top 10 or top 10 excluding BTC, top 50, and so on. We're also going to be introducing 2 more indices soon, the DeFi index and the social media index.
Let me compare that to the traditional world, where initially, if I remember correctly, it was the exchanges to start setting up indices or setting up some kind of basket, which then would permit to create an index. And then more and more indices were set up by specialized index providers that would even charge a fee on using their index values. And now for the crypto market, it's you saying, okay, we set up an index. Will you be able to set a standard, or who will eventually be the one to be the creator of the respected indices for crypto?
So in fact, there are 2 topics there. One is the index and the other one is the index fund. So at the moment, we've created these indices as a benchmark. So for example, you're interested in Solana and you want to compare Solana to the top 10 index to see how it's performing in relative to the top 10. So at the moment, these are more for data analytics purposes. And in creating an index and maintenance of an index is not really an easy task either. So there, you have certain rules. You follow a certain methodology. And then, in fact, you almost need to check it real time, because if if one of these drop the price for a certain amount of time, then you need to take it out of index. Or if the volume is, there's no volume for 24 hours, you need to take it off the index and things like that. So there's a lot of maintenance happening. Clearly, it's difficult to say which indices will remain and which indices will turn into crypto index funds. There are some examples. For example, Bloomberg acquired a company called Galaxy Capital. And at the moment, Bloomberg is using their index, Galaxy Capital Index.
Okay, but I mean, there's pretty much about standard setting, right? Ultimately, there are many people out there saying, I have a top 10 crypto index, and everybody might define it slightly differently. And so we have a scattered world of indices. And then at the end of the day, we hopefully come to a situation where everybody understands the same, and we use the Barclays Don't Know Index because Barclays has turned out to be one of the most reputable. I mean, what will be the criteria? Who's going to use your benchmark in their reportings as the benchmark everybody knows?
I understand. Right. I don't. Even in traditional markets, we don't see that there is only one company that came up with an index. There's FTSE indices, there's S&P 500 indices. So even in the traditional markets, there are so many players that have created indices. And in fact, they were able to do that because they had access to data from exchanges directly. And in traditional markets, I, as an end user, do not have access to exchange data. Whereas now, crypto exchanges give access to their data to the end user. I mean, the person on the street is able to actually get an API. So what I'm trying to say is there may be more players for crypto indices, and it doesn't have to be necessarily dominated by 3-4 main actors. And again, the base of any index is the data. For instance, we were also approached by an index fund company, and they thought that they can perhaps utilize us and other data as an index calculating agent. So they take the data from us, and then we would be operating as their index calculating agent. So we do this magic for them, and then they turn this into an investable instrument. That's also fine because we have the data there.
Yeah.
In that perspective, whether this index or that index will be utilized, well, I'm giving it as a benchmark. If my users for CIS Trader would like to use it, they're more than welcome. But if not, I'm always able to create different types of indices for any varying demand.
Okay. Currently, the traditional markets index providers charge fees for using their indices for the pricing data. Do you intend to sell index data or to become an accredited index provider or calculator?
At the moment, I've noticed there is actually only one accredited index data provider. In fact, sorry, index. So the index they have created is accredited by an authority, but I've seen only one in the world. So it isn't at the moment a standard set by all the jurisdictions yet. Yeah. Yes, there are sort of indexing, or they call it benchmark regulations, I believe. For traditional markets, there is such a thing. Set by many jurisdictions, but for crypto assets, the regulations there aren't very set as standard, set as stone yet.
Yeah, but I think we agreed in order to be successful at some point in time, you ideally become a reference source. And I just copied in the chat this paper from the German Finanzministerium, and they explicitly say a market price can either be the average price on 3 different trading platforms, for example, and they explicitly name Kraken, Coinbase, and Bitpanda, or one may use web-based listings, and they mention CoinMarketCap as a source they permit. And at some point in time, we need to have CryptoIndexSeries as a accredited pricing provider as well on their list. And there's one question coming in asking, sure, do you plan on integrating decentralized exchanges in your data sets?
We started receiving this question from more and more institutions recently, so it's in our roadmap. Okay. Haven't done it yet, but yes, it's in our roadmap.
All right.
Right, so I'll quickly go through some of the other slides. I think our time is almost finished, actually.
Yeah.
You tell me how much more minutes I've got, and I'll use my slides accordingly.
So we have 15 additional minutes if you like to go into details, and I would love to dive briefly into the on-chain data issue as well, but maybe it makes sense if you just continue your presentation.
Sure. So yeah, there's other types of derived data, such as volume analysis, for example, for Ethereum. Which pairs have the highest volume, or volume by pair.
I think it's worth mentioning that all this is live, right? This is correct. Directly from your running CIS system already.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is another drive data. You could look at, arbitrage opportunities, sort of where to buy and where to sell for which crypto assets. You cannot trade on by clicking on any of this, but if you were to use our API, you would be able to trade as well. So that the arbitrage opportunities can be found in the data. The historical data is also there, as we mentioned. And some of the historical data is quite interesting. You can see as far, well, the whole data is much bigger, but we're doing the analytics on 3-year. And yeah, Dodge is one of the speculative cryptocurrencies. As you can see, it's grown quite a lot in the last 3 years.
But when looking at this, I mean, I get the same at CoinMarketCap somehow, or why is your data better?
Good question. Well, you see, we have more data sets when it comes to, for example, news or social media aggregation. And our crypto market cap, well, CoinMarketCap doesn't have a trading API or a portfolio API.
Sure,
so we shouldn't be looking at it just sort of CIS trader platform. It's really the data trading and portfolio API which powers what I'm showing to you right now. You can't trade on the CoinMarketCap, whereas here you'd be able to trade and look at your portfolios in very many exchanges.
Absolutely, but this data is not 100% identical to what I see on CoinMarketCap, because the way you are deriving the price data is slightly different somehow. My question is your data better? Is it more reliable?
We should be able to do tests on that, if you will. Clearly, I'm counting on the words of my senior developers and my CTO, and I don't want to give any. I don't want to give the names of some of the competitors, but when it comes to trade data, for example, there's quite a lot of loss in some of our competitors. So in the test we've looked at, let's say there are 1 million trades on Binance. We get up to, if not million, 99999 trades on our system, whereas there is almost 20% drop in some of the data providers we see in the market right now. Again, here my role as a CEO is not to put dirt on any of my competitors, but I really know the quality of our product, because again, my CTO worked at Thomson Reuters in the financial data side for 14 plus years. So that comes with a certain level of expertise and understanding in real-time data. That's
Yeah.
Right, and quickly on the trading and monitoring side, so these are sort of dwelling into the challenges on the trading side, because we may not notice it as an end user, but this is certainly a problem for any technology provider who would like to give access to multiple venues. So there's certainly big data to collect in terms of number of trades, number of orders. I mean, the order book data is huge. There is no standard API for exchanges. There certainly, for example, Binance API is completely different from the API of Huobi or Coinbase. They all have different API standardizations or API documentations and rules, let's say. Even the symbology for crypto assets vary from exchange to exchange. These location of exchanges are spread. Therefore, you need to be in close proximity to those exchanges, and there's price slippage for larger orders in these exchanges. So in fact, even the exchanges may not be the right trading venue for you if you're looking to trade in high volumes. So therefore, then you need to be looking at other partners such as prime brokers, OTC trading, or market maker. These are all different types of challenges that asset managers, wealth managers, or any technology provider need to face. And our solution there is you will see unified trading platforms. One name, if I need to drop, would be Coinigy, for example. Coinigy is operating on multiple exchanges. They're not a data provider. They just would allow you to trade on many platforms. So what we do there is we say, okay, we would like to allow our users to trade on multiple exchanges. And we are also partnering with a prime broker and an OTC trading desk so that if our customers, API or trader users, would like to have access to prime broker or OTC trading through our API, then they should be able to. The reason I put dash here is because we're about to finalize our terms or agreement with these partners. So therefore, from trading end as well, we'd like to, we aim and would like to act as a sort of aggregation of venues, so to say. This is.
So that would mean that you would intend to do what we see in the, in the traditional markets. Most attendees might not be fully aware. A large proportion of OTC trading is essentially done via Bloomberg communication, because you see quotes for many things, and then we have different systems to connect sellers and buyers. And are you intending to set up a communication environment for this, or would you assume that there will be an API-based communication in the OTC, in the crypto OTC market?
Exactly. So at the moment, we are actually in very close contact with one of the OTC trading firms. And they do provide API integration there. So what we are looking at is, we certainly don't want to become an OTC desk or a prime broker, but we would like to, let's say, act as an intermediary for those of our users who are utilizing API or trader. If they need an OTC trading partner, then they can still utilize our API, but use the services of this particular partner, for example. Yes, on the trading end, this would be how it looks. And then finally, when it comes to monitoring, and this will be sort of the last 3 slides we're looking at, there's just too much data to collect. You know, you're looking at withdrawals, deposits, trade, lack of high quality data here, because you need to be, it's really a complicated thing, portfolio analytics, because let's say you put money in US dollars and then you buy Ethereum with that, and then you use dollars for Solana, and then you decided to convert some of your Ethereum to Solana. Because there's a lot of cross trading, it gets complicated very quickly after a while. So perhaps because of that, in the market, you won't see very many portfolio analytics providers on the exchange or liquidity provider end. Exchanges recently started doing some portfolio analytics, but again, very limited.
And if in addition to that, you're staking Solana, will you reflect the staking rewards as well?
No, at the moment, we don't have connections to staking environments. But when we close our $50 million round, we will be connecting to all those, I can promise.
All right, so early 2022, right?
Absolutely. So yes, and this is another snapshot that shows some portfolio analytics. So in this case, this is all imaginary. We've created a Binance account and a BTC Turk account, for example. These are some of the assets in together in these accounts, and then this is how the total or how my portfolio together with these 2 accounts is doing over time. So we are able to do things like that. And again, this is just the front end that we have produced, but you have the data in the background, so you can do all types of different magic or reporting with the data you have. Right, so basically we said, okay, we've got challenges in terms of data, we've got challenges in terms of trading and monitoring. And you might have noticed these are not necessarily challenges of the Joe on the street. These are the challenges of institutions, of asset managers, or the technology providers, platform providers who'd like to trade in multiple venues, do a lot of data analysis. So again, these are the challenges. So in CryptoIndexSeries, we're working to address, let's say, all these challenges in two main products. One is the CIS API, and CIS API powers CIS Trader. CIS Trader is our platform. You're most welcome to do the free trial in CryptoIndexSeries.com. And again, CIS API is also live at the moment. And yes, the aim is to do, so that we can actually give a good, solid data trading and portfolio API to all these different stakeholders in the markets. Again, CIS Trader is live at CryptoIndexSeries.com and CIS API as well. If you'd like to try out API, again, you can contact us on, or contact myself on Gökçe Phillips at CryptoIndexSeries.com. Thank you for listening.
Cool. Yeah, Gökçe, thank you very much. I think it's very interesting and demanding what you intend to develop, and I think we agree that there is, or there will be, a huge demand for this kind of services, and time will show who is able to, well, presumably dominate this market, given the fact that most of the data is available for free, whereas in the traditional markets, most exchanges charge fees for real-time data. It will be driven by technology, and I think speediness is pretty relevant. For me, it would be interesting from your experience and from the discussions you have had with institutional investors, what data is the most relevant? So is it more about applying traditional math to crypto and trying to get volatility and Sharpe ratios and Sortino and so on portfolios? Or is it more about getting real research, lots of pages and recommendations? Or is it on-chain data, which I believe is something we don't have in the traditional markets, and there must be something hidden which is relevant for crypto investors, which I haven't found yet. I don't have a recipe, but I think that's something we should seriously look at.
Well, it's interestingly, each customer we speak to lately has a completely different demand. For example, we're speaking to a blockchain company. They're doing pure blockchain, and they need, what they need is what we called digital asset index, the aggregate, and then the digital asset pair indices, so the pair aggregates, pair calculations. And they're only interested in these two specific data sets, nothing else. And they'd like hundreds of API keys because they'll do some sort of consensus algorithms. And then we speak to algorithmic trading firm. They're interested in the full financial crypto package plus the news package. We're speaking to wealth management provider firm. They're interested in, the first thing they wanted was taxonomic data, and on top of that, pricing data. So really, they are, depending on what their magic is or how they define their magic to be, the data trading API integration or the demand changes, but nonetheless, that demand is there.
Okay, life would be so easy if every client's demand would be similar, and that's do scaling much easier. I think we are at the end of our time frame for me, and I do hope for our auditorium. It was pretty interesting, and I think what you endeavor to get to is exactly what is needed to help crypto become more and more kind of used by institutions. And I think we all believe that this is something we trust is helpful, not only for the finance industry because everything is cheaper and faster and so on, but for the entire uses of this, because things are getting much easier, smarter, cheaper, and at some point in time we will be able to do transactions without banks, and currently the banks need to adapt to that. It was a great pleasure having you here. Thank you very much. We took a record of it, and if that's fine with you, we would provide it as a YouTube on our channel, and so everybody who was not able to attend today will be able to look at it later on. For me, it was pretty interesting. I learned even more than I already knew before. Thank you very much, and have a good evening, good night in Turkey.
Thank you very much, Marit. It was a pleasure for me as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Tschüss.